You good, man? You listen. People Twitter was going crazy yesterday, McNuggets, but we made it.
Why?
Listen, we just had a terrific. Sometimes, and we've said this before, the conversation before the show is better than the show.
It is.
And myself, Earl, and G just had a 25-minute conversation. We were down here at 9:30.
What was the basis of it?
Man, we was talking
Anonymous
about
sources reporting opinions and how Director Steve smells.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like we talked about said that when they came on yesterday, it was the huge. Everybody went crazy because of the tier list with Mike Sando, and it was crazy because I thought tier list was over after practice started.
Right.
But they were, and so it just went crazy. So me and McNuggets, we was talking, and then, people had the idea that McNuggets hit the guest. Like they just issued him on there. Like, yeah, G. Bush ain't here, Earl out here. Let's bring him on. And I'm like, man, I had to be like, listen, McNuggets does not have to run guests by me. I don't be paying attention to nothing. And at the end of the day, guys, this is a building. Like, everybody has their own opinion. Like, it's not like we got to hide. We're very opinionated.
The coolest thing about what we do at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we've all known each other for at least 4 years. We've had some ups.
Since launch.
We've had some downs. We've had some challenging moments all with each other, and we've all bounced back. But we come from we are a very diverse group that comes
100%.
from all different walks of life.
Yep.
And when we have these off-camera conversations, we are able to get insight basically on how we all come from different walks and come together, and why we all see things differently the way that we do.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes us a healthy bunch. This show would suck and be boring if we all saw things the same, all came from the same walks of life.
Earl, you are 100% right.
Yeah. And
it wouldn't be good.
And
the whole idea is to have open conversations about things that sometimes are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's all part of it. I remember one time we had it was one of the best topics we ever had on First Take, and it happened organically. Chris Carter happened to mention that he felt that to talk intelligently about a sport, that you must have played that sport at some time or another. And it really was more directed as a criticism at Skip,
right,
who was trying to dissect something that Chris said, you can't possibly know that because you never played the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And as the moderator, I was fascinated because I was hearing two widely different sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Chris was trying to say was, there are certain things about a locker room dynamic that you can't understand if you've never been a part of that. The X and O stuff, I think guys that haven't played the sport,
you can learn it.
You not only can you learn it, there are guys that have never played the sport that can dissect it as well as, if not better than, anyone.
Fact.
The locker room dynamic and the social blending of all kinds of different people from all kinds of different backgrounds, that's, I think, the thing that the athletes were saying, because then it turned into a lot of people were calling in athletes, big name athletes, saying, I want to get in on this. And we carried it over to the next day. It was so good.
I'll tell you, I was doing, as we was talking about that, because you mentioned there's a fine line, and I don't like using stuff to disqualify people. As a former college athlete, sometimes, when you get to a point and you disagree with somebody, you got to be very careful to say that just because you did something, that makes you higher or more informed than somebody else. So I came up with this little thing: evidence plus expertise plus access plus transparency. I'll take that over your title. And what that means is, don't believe me because I play football. I'm saying, judge my work. I'm at practice, I'm watching films, I'm breaking down films, I'm giving my reasoning. My name is attached to evaluation. Challenge me. If I'm wrong, show me. That's not the same standard as saying everybody else has to meet. So those are the things I'll move on.
And one of the things that I think Skip used in the argument was he was bringing up all-time great players that made absolutely horrendous coaches and general managers. And that list, trust me, is long.
It is.
And distinguished. Guys like Magic Johnson tried it and immediately found out, oh my God, I'm so far out of touch with today's players, I can't communicate with them.
Magic and Michael.
Michael Jordan had a very, very difficult time being a GM and then a team owner. Ted Williams was one of the greatest hitters of all time. And he just found that he couldn't translate what he had up here and here to the modern day players.
It's a skill.
So it really is, it's a skill to be able to transfer that skill set and that ability, but it's also possible for someone that has never done it at that high a level. What level did Bill Belichick play up to? College?
Maybe.
If that.
Yeah, I think he played college football at some really small school in New England. And look what he did as a coach.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to say, well, Bill Belichick doesn't know football because he didn't play it at a high level. There might be things about the game that he can't possibly understand because he never played it at that high level. But the game itself, the X's and O's, I think he mastered it as well as anyone.
And vice versa. You take a look at guys who made great players. You put them behind a microphone and say, give me an opinion, and it's dry as old stale bread. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. You got, like, that's whack. It's trash. We ain't trying to, like, you are boring. I like you playing and catching passes or tackling people. Like, everybody not Michael Strahan. Right?
Yeah, that's
Michael
true.
Strahan go from here and just come right on. So it's a combination of these things sometimes. And I think more than anything, with the thesis statement that we talked about is in the beginning was, look, sometimes when you say people around the league and there's those sources are great, but sometimes you can have authority laundering. Authority laundering is like, okay, well, your name is there. You can say different things to people, but you don't have the accountability. If Earl, me, you say Dylan Gabriel ain't good on this show, well, there's a chance you can see Dylan Gabriel's people out in the public. When you go to practice, you got to get an interview from Dylan Gabriel. So everything you say, there's an accountability piece to it. And I love that because it's instantaneous. It's in real time.
That what you touched on there is one of the reasons why the newsbreakers and the opiners rarely intersect. One of the few that does this is Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. will throw opinion, and he'll show up at the game.
Sure will.
Yeah,
he will.
Skip Bayless notoriously never went to games. Ever.
Skip's list was a little bit. The way Skip was kicking it back in the day.
Well,
people was trying. That Jalen Rose interview, boy.
The Richard Sherman interview
I was sitting
that Jalen Rose.
I was right between them.
The Richard Sherman interview was another one.
Terrell Owens.
I was there. Chad Ochocinco. But I'll say this. Skip always was asked about this. Why don't you show your face? Are you afraid? And Skip's reasoning was different than most people would think. Most people think, well, he's throwing knives. He doesn't want to confront about this. That really wasn't it. Skip's thing was, I could never, ever form a friendly relationship with a player. Ever, under any circumstances, period, full stop. And that was, he is Vanderbilt educated. And for those that studied journalism and that understand like the tent poles of journalism, that's one of the bastions of sports journalism is Vanderbilt. And he went on the Grantland Scholarship, which means he was top of his class. He believes that you cannot rub elbows. It's kind of like there are certain coaches that say, oh, I can't fraternize with my players. Ever, under any circumstance. I'm not their friend, I'm their coach. Then there are other coaches that like chill with them, hang out with them, do things with them. It's just different philosophies. Skip's was, I can't have any relationship with any former player because I don't want my personal opinion of that player to be clouded by my friendship.
I'm going to give you an insight. See, a lot of people don't know this. We was at practice, and a lot of people think, oh, my goodness, G. Bush, you got the pom-poms on. There was, the CU aunties was at practice. Me, Earl, and Tyvus was at practice. Shador Sanders went over there, took the picture. We documented it, right? Me, Tyvus, and Earl didn't say nothing.
No.
Because here's the reality of the situation. Hey, everybody know I interviewed Coach Prime. So why would I wouldn't put a target on his back, because if you say G. Bush thinks he can play, oh, there go, hey, he's over here talking, he got an interview.
That's right.
No.
So after practice, we ain't say nothing.
We didn't say nothing.
He looked over, we walked off.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
Because you can't, and furthermore,
because people would have taken pictures with you guys talking with Sanders, and then guess what?
And then it comes. I see why.
See.
Oh,
that's why Skip said, "Nope, there's a brick wall between me and every player I talk about."
We would have been working for Well Off Media. Like all of a sudden, we down at Coach Prime's ranch. This is crazy. We know we going to the parties.
Football camp.
He doing it. You assistant D-line coach at Colorado now. Nah, bro. Like so that is a good point. I'm just giving you behind the scenes look.
Yeah, we got to get jumping in.
This all ties in, and we're just going to continue the conversation. But you guys were at training camp. G, you were there yesterday. Todd Monken said Thursday was the final installation period of training camp moving forward. They are beyond the installation phase. So I'm curious in your guys' mind, and G, as the one who was out there yesterday, I want to start with you on this. What does the next phase of camp look like now that installation's over? And what will you specifically be looking for today, tomorrow, and in future camps now that the installation should be done? They should be more acclimated to a new offensive and defensive systems. And how should we evaluate what we see moving forward, knowing that is no longer still the installation early part of camp?
I'm gonna give you an analogy because it's an easy way to do it. You know, if you're a dancer, right, and you're trying to learn choreography, you know, they slow it down. They're breaking into parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 count here. When the music change here, you're gonna move and do this. So when you're teaching these people, all of them are a little disjointed. If you notice, they trying to watch the choreographer and move their body parts and do different things so they can understand what it is. So that's just the install. Now, once you know the steps and you have the routine down, now we can decide who's going to be the best dancer. Because it's one thing to know the steps, but it's another thing to feel the steps, to act out the steps, to be able to put your soul into it. And if you can see two people who both know the routine, but one person got a little something extra. Like they putting their own flair on it. The choreography is tight, but they putting their own swag on it. So now when you compare that to the football field, they know what the offensive cadence is. They know what the rotation is supposed to be. They know where the receivers are supposed to be. Now it's about going out to see who can marry what you know in terms of the install with your natural playmaking ability. What can you do when things break down? How are you able to audible? And now you're going to get to see it in real time because now we get to see it against other people that's competing. So that's why I always thought, McNuggets, that we always want to just get to the season and name somebody, but this is really essentially where we start. The install is out. Now it's about application, Earl. Mm-hmm. So now these next couple of days, I will be watching intimately. Tyvis talked about it. Yeah, this practice coming up is big time. It's going to be big because now it's about who's making plays in productions, who can do it under pressure. And that is going to let us know who's ahead of who. But trying to have it premature, that's a situation where you know you need some reps in practice.
Application plus retention, if you ask me. I think at this point, Todd Monken wants to see, okay, who's been able to retain all this information the most and who can go out here, as G alluded to, and put their own flair on it, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side of the ball as well. And so what I'm expecting, based on what Todd Monken said yesterday, now you're going to start actual running sets that you were running the game versus different defensive schemes and coverages that you're going to see from the opponents this year. And that's where the retention comes into play. Do you know where your feet should be? Do you know where your eyes should be? Do you know where this football should go? Do you know the multiple cadences that you were required to learn from Todd Monken once you get to the line of scrimmage? Do you know what your blocking assignment is, etc.? You have spent the last 8 days going over this, learning all this, and putting this into place. And now it's like, you know, when you put all the ingredients into the bowl to make a pound cake. Mm-hmm. All the ingredients is in, you done stirred it up. Now it's time to put that thing in the oven, let it cook, and hope that your first ever pound cake come out and it's actually edible for somebody.
Don't have no dry pound cake.
Don't have no dry pound cake.
Or at least looks good.
Yeah, it better at least look good.
Right,
before you cut that thing down the middle, it better at least look good.
Yeah, I love pound cake, by the way.
Me too.
Underrated.
It's a
drastically underrated.
It's a lost science.
It is.
When we lost our grandmothers, we lost so many recipes.
All the recipes.
All the recipes.
You're right, though. The older generations made the pound cake.
I be looking at them. I be judging the heck out of my aunts, and you ain't nothing. You couldn't get the recipe. You had all that time. What was you doing? You was running the streets.
I agree with you guys 100%. I always looked at it as the pre-training camp and then training camp. Pre-training camp is over.
Yeah. Yes.
The training wheels are off and the excuses are over. A lot of times when coaches are installing new offenses, particularly in a first-year system, everything is new. The verbiage is new. Everything is different for them. And really, I think what it is more than anything is it's an IQ test. Mm-hmm. How quickly can you absorb all of the knives that we're throwing at you? Mm-hmm. And we're throwing a lot at you. And oftentimes, I'm sure, G, you can speak to this. I've talked to players before where they felt like, I think he's overwhelming us on purpose. They are. They're throwing more at you than they think you can handle. Mm-hmm. And if you can handle all of it, you're a rock star. And that elevates you to the top of the chart. They don't expect you necessarily to have a full 100% grasp of everything.
Right.
When I say excuses are over, they are over. But there are still going to be mistakes that are made, and hopefully in film and breakdown later, They can point things out. Nope, we weren't looking for this. We were looking for that. So there's still going to be fine-tune adjustments that are made. Just because the install is done doesn't mean the learning's over. You're still going to learn from the mistakes that you make now that the install is in. And I really think that I don't want to say the slate is clean because it's not. What's happened to this point does matter. The coaches have formed opinions.
Yeah.
But those opinions can still be changed over what they see over the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure in some positions and in some cases, those opinions will be changed. And you'll have guys rise up the depth chart and guys fall down it. I don't know where they are at quarterback necessarily. I do think that they've formulated a lot of opinions on all these guys, but I don't think anything is set in stone yet.
It's like when we all know this. We throw it out there. It's like this. And you get a syllabus in college, and they'll give you your syllabus, and they'll tell you exactly. There's no hidden networks. They're like, okay, your homework assignments is 10%. We're going to have 2 quizzes. The quiz might be 2 of the quizzes is going to equal up to 20%. Then we're going to have a midterm, which is going to be worth half, and then the final, or roughly the final, could be worth half. So you got about 4 opportunities on quizzes, midterms, and finals, and your participation and your trying hard is your homework.
Yeah.
That's 10%. This was the 10% trying hard, turning your.
So we got 90% to go.
So you got.
I like that. I like that breakdown.
You got the inner squad scrimmage against the Bills. That's a big one. That's big. You're gonna have the 2 preseason games. Those are big. Coach Monken already said one's gonna start that game and the other one's gonna start that game. And I think anything after the install is going to weigh as well leading up to those. So for me. Hey, look, everything is still up for debate. This part right here is your participation, and it's actually, to be truthful, it's a prerequisite to even get to the rest of the stuff.
I can't wait.
You better have a 10.
Yeah, you got to. Like, that's easy.
I think the practice tomorrow is going to be more like a scrimmage. I think today is going to be more like a light walkthrough, after all the install is in, but they're going to put them pads back on tomorrow. And I think that you are going to get the ball on the ground, and they are going to go like this is like a simulated game.
Yep.
And it makes sense for it to be that way when, you take a break on Sunday, you come back Monday, and now you are working on your game plan for your first preseason game. So I'm excited to get out there tomorrow to see what this offense and what this defense looks like after the install, what players have retained the information, and what other players, as G say, put their own flair on it.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. And I think that's when the boys will separate themselves from the men, as they say.
Yes.
And before long, we'll have a 53-man, and we'll have the starting guys on both offense and defense, and then it's time to go to war with real bullets. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Tyvis Powell's going to join us. He is going to talk about Denzel Boston. Everybody is talking about Denzel Boston. What do we